we have that saying, if we love them, so will we. And we always make sure that the decisions that we make, they're the most compassionate, and they always are made with the pet in mind. Hi, I'm Rima Jalba, and you're entering a world gone good.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. I want to take a moment to remind you, this right here is a good place, a place of good. We got plenty other places you can go, we can all go and turn to for the bad, the strife, the negativity. World Gone Good aims to balance that other side out by featuring good people who remind us every single week there is still good out there and lots of it. As I mentioned previously, this is not a Pollyanna way of looking at things. We don't have blinders on. What we do have is the ability to connect with you, our listeners, take a breath together and say, you know what? This world has lots of good in it left to share, embrace, and enjoy. I know I say it every week. I say, welcome to World Gone Good. And I mean it because all are welcome, including you. Today, we journey back to my side of the pond to talk about my favorite thing in the world. No, not the $6 million man and the bionic woman. We are talking about animals. We just passed the 1-year anniversary of two of our friends in dog form leaving us, Haley and Mason. We miss them more than I can even put into words. But good news, we went and picked up our cat in Atlanta and brought him home to London with us, and we feel so much more complete again. It's really amazing how a pet can do that, isn't it? That's why it's so important to have a plan in place in case of an emergency, an unexpected illness, or even a trip to the hospital. And that's what today's guest is all about helping out with. Rima Jalba is here from the Cinnamon Trust, the UK national charity for older people, the terminally ill, and their pets. The Cinnamon Trust provides hands-on assistance to pet owners across the country when any aspect of the day-to-day care of their pets poses a problem, as well as a provision of lifelong care for pets who outlive their owners. How good does that sound? So good that I filled out a volunteer form myself on their website to start walking dogs in my own area, hang with some dogs, get my steps in. That's a win-win right there. Here comes Rima from the Cinnamon Trust to share their good story. So my guest today is an animal person in an animal world, which we all kind of are. And I'm going to start with the question I ask most animal people. Rima, what was your first pet and what was its name?
Oh, such a good question. It's hard to answer because I've had so many pets. But my first pet that was my own was Bim. He was a dog. He was a stray. And he was such a sweetheart. So cute. He was black and white. He has these little dots. Very smart and very cheeky, I would say.
How old were you?
I was probably about 9, 8 or 9. I was really young. Sadly, he also passed away when he was really young. So it was a big thing for me. It was a big tragedy, and it's something that made me truly realize how profound my bond was with him. But it wasn't at the time. Obviously, it's looking back when I think that actually it's been a very impactful bond for my life, for how I would treat pets and how I look at the animal world.
And have you always looked at it that way, or was it this animal that did it for you? Have you always been an animal person?
Yes, yeah. And the reason why I hesitated to answer is because my grandparents would would live in the countryside and they would have so many animals and pets. So technically I grew up around a lot of animals and pets before BIM. But Bim was my own dog, and I've always loved them. I've always tried to make the best for them in terms of food and in terms of entertainment. I would make swings for my ducks. So it's always been such a
What?
sweet thing. I know. I would create little tiny swings for ducklings, and then I would swing them, and I'd spend the summers doing this.
Oh my god, did you hang it from a tree or did you just hold on to it like they were like marionettes?
Well, I would create these little stands.
Oh my god, I
So
love
I
you right
would
now.
just, yes, I would make these swings. And I was quite inventive and innovative. As a kid, you just kind of make things up and you think, okay, I need to build this. What are my resources and how can I make it happen? So that's what I did. I made little swings out of cardboard and I would just connect them with some strings and they would just work.
Oh my god, you're like a Roald Dahl character meets a Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, thank you. That's very
That's a
kind.
compliment. Okay, where did you grow up? Because we recently moved to London. I can hear with your accent you are a fellow UKer with a proper UKer. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Eastern Europe, actually. I grew up in Moldova. That's why we had a lot of farmland and nature that I could enjoy. And then eventually I moved abroad when I was 19. So for me, it has been over a decade now of living abroad, living and studying abroad, and then eventually working. Yeah, but I moved to the UK because culturally, it was something that I was looking to when I was growing up. I was immersed in a lot of music and culture. And then I had relatives here as well. And it just made sense to kind of immerse myself, give it a try, and see what opportunities are out there.
Oh my god, your life sounds amazing so far.
And that's because you didn't dig deeper.
Okay, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Well, let's just go back for 1 second. Whereabouts is Moldova?
So, Moldova, it's a very small country between Romania and Ukraine. So,
Wow.
we are so tiny. Historically, we've been part of Romania, but it's been a lot of back and forth of the land being taken over. We have been part of the Soviet Union, and right after it dissolved, we became an independent country. So, since 91, we've been independent. It's really small, but it's full of flavor and lively people, joyous people, lots of wine, and very delicious food.
I'm going. I'm done. You sold it.
You should. Honestly, you should. We have long underground wineries that
Oh
are
my god.
yeah, they're over 120 kilometers long, some of them.
What?
So you're driving there.
We're going to a whole different show right now, but I got to tell you, I did a show called Wine Gone Good with a friend of mine, Christina, and she's a nutritionist and she a naturopath, and she does this whole course on how to drink wine post 40, post 50, how to keep up and stuff like that. So she and I might have to call her and have her come up from Santa Barbara and explore. I'm going to call it a wine cave if that's okay.
You have to do it. It's quite the experience, and you learn so much about winemaking. I love going there and just try different wineries, different a bit of tasting, obviously, and then you can try the menus as well. But it's a full immersive experience.
Amazing. Now, where do you live now?
I live in Cornwall. I live in what my parents would say the end of the world. um, because it's the southwest of the UK. It's coastal. It's really beautiful. Not so much in the winter when you get to have all the rain and all the wind, but it's a very beautiful and different part of the UK compared to what people would associate as the UK.
Now, I asked you here today because a friend of mine named Ruthie Burke, I'm going to give her first and last name, she became a volunteer here in London for the organization you work with called the Cinnamon Trust. Will you tell everybody what the Cinnamon Trust is all about?
Yes, sure. So For those who don't know, the Cinnamon Trust is the only national charity that helps older people and those terminally ill to care for and plan for the future care of their pets. Now, there are layers to what I just said because the support that the Cinnamon Trust offers is really practical support at the first level to ensure that pets can stay with their owners for as long as possible. And when I say pets, I mean any pet. That could mean a cat, that could mean a bird, that could mean a dog. Some people have horses or ponies. You know, when we talk about pets, we talk about all sorts of animal companions. So we try to do our best to keep people and their pets together so that they don't have to prematurely say goodbye because they have that level of support. And we do so with a network of over 20,000 volunteers across the country.
Holy cow.
Yes, a lot of compassionate and very dedicated people out there. And what we do basically is owners come to us and they say, hey, I need support. I can no longer walk my dog, for example. And we take all the information about their situation, circumstances, but also about their pet. And then we find a volunteer in the area that would like to go there and introduce themselves and start dog walking. So obviously, this is kind of the second basis because we always do ensure that everyone is safe, you know, everyone's comfortable. So there's a few other checks that we do with just is the pet getting along with a volunteer, just to, you know, find that right fit to ensure that everyone's happy. So the volunteers then start walking depending on how flexible they can be. There's no requirement as to whether you need to do it a certain amount of hours or times per week. People usually tell us about their schedule. So from a volunteer side, they would say, hey, this is what I have experience with. These are the pets I have experience with. This is my flexibility at the moment. Is there anyone nearby? So when an inquiry arises, basically, we match them to ensure that everyone's happy. The volunteers get their doggy fix or pet fix, generally speaking. The owners get that immense level of support that helps them keep their companions for as long as possible. And everyone's happy. And then we also have short-term fostering during hospital stays. In a case where often owners are very reluctant to go and have a hospital stay or some care personally for themselves, we now have these volunteers who take the pets in their homes so that the owner can receive the care that they need, knowing that they can come back home and be reunited with their pet. Often, what happened prior to us is that the owners would feel like they have to give up their pet the minute that they couldn't walk them anymore, or they would postpone having medical care just because they wouldn't have someone to take care of the pet. So now, because we have the volunteers, they can rest assured that the pet will be there and it will be in a home and be loved and fussed and comforted until they can be reunited. And that gives owners immense peace of mind to know that they have that backup, people that they can lean on so that they can keep their pets. And last but not least, and I know that this is getting lengthy, but
No, I love it. Keep going.
we have a third level of support, and this is for any owner, not just those who are older or terminally ill, but any owner worried about their pet's future, maybe because they don't have relatives or family nearby or friends that could take over the care of their pet. They can pet profile their companion with us, and that means that they entrust their pet to us so that in the event that they go into nursing care, let's say, or that they sadly pass away, the pet be, comes into our guardianship. And that means that we will assess the pet's needs. And that is based on a very comprehensive profile that the owner is sharing with us. They share anything from medical needs to favorite food, favorite toys, any quirks, any nicknames. So we know so much about the pet that when and if the time comes that they need to part ways, we make that in a very gentle way for the pet. And so then we look at the people that we have in our database, or we put out an appeal and we say, hey, we're looking for a forever fosterer for this pet. And then we look at the pet's needs, the environment that the pet was used with, and we try to match the pet with a similar person so that they wouldn't feel like it's a radical change. For pets that have ongoing medical needs, we have two sanctuaries, and that's where we welcome the pets that need 24/7 care. We realize that some pets have more than one medical need and they need that extra care and attention so that the medication would be given on time, that someone would constantly be there to watch them. So we have experienced staff in the sanctuaries that make sure that they receive that day in and day out, besides all the home cooked meals and the fuss and the playgrounds and the TV and all the scratches. They have that support and someone looking over them. And so, yeah, we have that saying, if we love them, so will we. And we always make the sure that the decisions that we make, they're the most compassionate and they always are made with the pet in mind.
I love so much of this. We had a guest on here a while ago from Praline's Backyard, and that's an organization in the United States doing something similar. But what's fascinating about them is they work with domestic abuse people, victims, who are wanting to leave a situation. But one of the reasons they don't leave is because they won't be able to take the dog with them.
Yeah, and there's another one, a similar one in the UK actually that we've collaborated with. Yeah.
I love it. But it is so important to anybody listening. You know, I'm the guy, I've talked about this quite a few times. We had 3 dogs and a cat. We now have a cat. Our 3 dogs became seniors. We loved them their whole run, and it was time one of them left on her own, and the other 2 we had to gently move on their way. But we had in our will and trust complete plans of who gets them, that the dogs all stayed together, the cat could go where he needed to go because he's a cat. He didn't really care one way or the other about the dogs. But what's interesting is as each dog passed, it was noticeable that the cat was affected too. And I'm like, you're a little liar because you like those dogs a little more than you said. But it is interesting because, you know, we took the time in our will and trust to lay out where the 3 dogs go, that they all 3 stay together, that they don't get separated. And we had an allotment of money that if it was in there that would be used for their care, because these are things that people don't always think about, right?
You're spot on. You're spot on, and this is something that we really are trying to put forward. Now, if you think about laws, the law treats pets as property, right?
Right.
So a lot of the times when people go in to write their wills, the pets, unless the solicitor is kind of aware of this, or knows a charity that does this, they wouldn't necessarily address the question, so have you made plans for your pet? So we're trying to make people aware that, you know, don't leave pets out of your plans because they're also your family, and under the law they are treated as property, therefore you need to make plans. And oftentimes also people assume that someone will take care of their pets, but circumstances change. And it's so
Right.
important to have a backup plan because if you think that a friend or a family member would, and then 3 years down the line, you didn't have that conversation and their circumstances changed, it will be very hard for them. And it's heartbreaking to even have people in that situation where they feel like they made a promise, but it's so hard for them to upkeep that promise. And luckily, we can offer that option to people so that they can have that peace of mind. And it's amazing the letters that we receive and the phone calls of people just knowing that they have that backup plan because we don't use kennels or catteries. They know that their pet will end up in a home and they will have someone that loves them deeply or as deeply as they did. And that's amazing.
And that's why an organization like yours is so important. How did you get involved with them? When did you get over to being part of the Cinnamon Trust?
I became part of the Cinnamon Trust about 2 years ago, 2 years and a bit. I joined because I was at a point where I said that I wanted to move. It will sound interesting, but I was changing from a job that felt soulless in the sense that it was very much metrics focused. And I wanted something that is human focused. So I went to one of these talent recruiting agencies and I said, I am looking for a job, but do not pitch me anything that has to do with just pure commercial teams trying to get their best and the most sales. I want a human focused role. So she initially called me to pitch me a different role, but then she said, well, now that you said this, I think there's something else that might interest you. So she pitched me this job, and that's when I applied for this job. But it was a sweet match because once I came in, anything from the culture, the philosophy, the people in the office, everything is so warm. Everything is, as we say, huggable across the board. Like, and I'm not even sweetening the deal. People are genuinely interested to make things easier for you and for you to be well in the workplace because they realize how much that contributes to your own life, but also how much that will change how you show up in your work. And I really value that.
Well, it's a connection, isn't it? And that's our word. We have a different slogan each year. Last year's slogan was pretty easy. 2025 was community. 2024 was eliminate expectations,
Oh,
which came up a lot in these shows. But our 2026 two words is say yes.
oh, that's
And
good.
that's what it sounds like you did. And
I
and I want
did.
to ask you, you did, but what was it? Was it an immediate say yes? Was there hesitation, or were you like, I need to connect?
So, uh,
No
okay, so
judgments.
there's
No
no,
judgments.
not at all. I actually will say it was an immediate yes. At the end of the interview, you know how interviews unfold, and oftentimes you hear that question of like, where do you see yourself in 3 years or 5 years or whatever? So I was joking at the end with the director because there were the questions, the set of questions, they were just not your typical interview. And I just looked at the director and I joked, I thought you would ask me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he just looked at me and he said, well, I truly hope that you see yourself here. And that just changed it for me because I've never been into an interview where it felt like they were rooting for me. I didn't feel like they were picking me apart to just kind of see what's wrong and where I fit or where I don't. They were advocating for me to see how well I understand the culture, the mission, the vision. And that really, I could sense there and then that it was so different. It was so gentle. It was so person focused. It wasn't just about skills. It was about me as a person. And yeah, it was a straight yes.
Amazing. Now, this whole organization started in 1985.
Yes. Yeah. So we've been going for 41 years now. Last year we celebrated our 40th anniversary, so it's been a big year for us. And now 41.
Incredible. And it was started by Mrs. Avril Jarvis,
Yes.
and her dog was a dog named Cinnamon.
Avril spotted something really important. First of all, she realized the precious bond that people have with their pets and the fact that pets are often a connection to other people, but also to the life you lived. That the loss of a pet, it's not just a loss to a connection to someone else, to a past, to a life lived. It's so much more, beyond those sweet memories, there's so much more at stake. And I don't know if you came across our origin story, but she kind of came up with the idea when she was walking her dogs and she met this lady and she was saying about the fact that she's concerned about her health and the level of support, and she's concerned about her dogs, of what would happen to her dogs once she's gone. And Avril made this promise, although she just met her for the first time, that she will take care of the dogs. But then this lady passed away, and she found out later, and she found out that the this lady's children, they put the dogs down, and so her heart really broke because she made that promise and she couldn't keep that promise because she knew just how much the dogs meant to that lady. And as you said, it's just some people don't realize that their pets are first their source of comfort, of familiarity, a reason to get up in the morning, a connection to a life lived and someone else. It's just so much in that bond, and yet not everyone experiences it. So everything we have done for the past 41 years is really honoring that bond and sharing a message with the world of saying, we get you, we get what it means to you because it's the same for us.
It's the best feeling when you can make that connection with an animal and when you can help an animal in need make that connection with someone else. And on that note, I want to ask you, for the cases of people who come out of the hospital who get their dogs, obviously want their dogs back, does that volunteer keep walking the dog or is it up to that person who set it up?
So everything is coordinated from our office. So if we have been walking prior to the owner going into hospital, then the volunteers just return walking. If they come out of the hospital and they say, "Hey, I actually could potentially take care of my pet, but I need a bit of support. Could you look for dog walkers in the area?" Then our volunteer coordinators will just start looking on a radius and start contacting people and say, "Hey, we have this pet. This is their name." Um, just kind of give a little bit of a profile around the pet so that the volunteers would know what they get themselves into and if they're comfortable and kind of what the schedule looks like. So it's really a case by case basis. Sometimes the owners might come out of the hospital, but because it was a short stay and they didn't really have a decent enough recovery period, they might say, "Hey, can you actually have the volunteer keep them for slightly longer because I still need a bit more time?" So it's really just being in touch. And that's why we have so many calls coming through to us because every single day people just keep checking in with others. How is the walking going? We always speak to the owners. "Hey, are you okay? Are you pleased with the volunteers?" We check in with the volunteers, as in, "Are you doing okay? How are you finding it so far? Do you want to continue?" There's always these checking points to ensure that everyone's okay because it has to come from the heart, and we want everyone to have a good time and not feel like they have to stick through something if they don't like it or if their circumstances changed. Yeah, it's just kind of going
Case by
from
case.
yeah, seeing the needs and just adjusting from there.
And also, I have to say, is like, that's a lot of people who I talk to who are like, have asked me over the years, how do you foster? I would get too connected. I could never foster. I get too connected. And you do connect with an animal, but it's also the best feeling in the world when you can hand that animal off and just say, "Hey, I was a pit stop." And and everyone listening who doesn't know this is like just fostering an animal. You can go foster an animal for one night.
Yeah.
You can go foster an animal for a weekend. That's how we
Hmm.
wound up getting Haley. Haley had a giant sign. My dog Haley, God bless her, she had a sign on her cage. She was 5 years old. She was a giant lab husky, and it said unadoptable. And which is insane. This was the
Really?
Humane Society. Yes, Humane
Oh,
Society of Santa Barbara. It said unadoptable.
I
And
thought it was a joke. I thought that
no,
you meant it as,
it was for nope, they were serious.
oh goodness.
And so I was working with the cats at the time and I went out and this woman named Erica, who's great. She was the volunteer. She was the dog coordinator. I don't remember what her title was. She was great. Anyway, she worked at the Humane Society. And I went up to her. I said, "What's up with that Haley girl?" And she said, "Oh, she's a mess." She said she can't go to play groups. She can't go on walks. We take her out twice a day to pee her and put her right back in. She's she's, feral. And I said, "Oh." And she said, "We tried to adopt her out 3 times, and she was returned twice, and one time she ran away, and we had to go and hunt her down." And I said, "Well, why don't I take her just for one night?" Because I just wanted to show Haley that there is a world outside of that cage. I said, "How long has she been here?" And she said, 18 months. And she'd been there 18 months in another humane society. So you're talking about 3 years of an animal, and the animal starts thinking, "This is where I live."
Yeah.
And we started taking her Friday to Sunday. We did it 10 weekends in a row. And every time we bring her back to the Humane Society, she couldn't run fast enough to get back in her cage. And we had 2 other dogs at home who were like hilarious because we had them since they were puppies. And they were like, "What is wrong with that dog?" And, and the 10th time we brought Haley back, she stopped and looked at us like, "Why am I going back in here?"
Oh,
And that's when we knew. And so we gave it a week to see if anybody would adopt her, and no one adopted her. And then we went back and adopted her. And we had her for another, so boy, we had her for another 7.5, 8 years.
wow.
And we slowly transformed a monster. I'm talking, oh, you would laugh. So we had a body like harness on her on the back with one leash
Mhm.
and a second rope leash on her, and Jim would walk on one side with me on the other, and that's how we trained her how to walk on a leash because she was, like, so crazed, she didn't get it. But it just takes time, it takes patience, and it really is. I mean, again, I can hear in your voice, you can hear in mine, I come to life, and when I'm around animals, I'm as you know, we talked about this before we started recording, our cat is back with us after a 6-month sabbatical with my best friend in Atlanta, Georgia. We just needed time. Everyone said, "Why didn't you take him with you?" And I said, "Because we don't have a living situation set up in London yet, and it's not fair to the cat to drag him around." Well, we figured it took us 3 places to find, "Oh, this is the one." And we went and brought him here, and this damn cat, he's 15 years old. He just he popped out of that little carrier, just walked around like, "Oh, I live here now? Okay, great. Oh, where's my litter box? Fantastic. Oh, is that the water? Great, guys, thanks."
Yeah.
And and we're happier now and more connected now that he's here with us.
Yeah. You pointed out really well the fact that nurturing just matters so much and what the home environment is. Because, like, on a separate note, but like at the sanctuary, sometimes we have pets coming in and they look like they're really frail, elderly pets. And you'd think, oh my goodness, we hope they'll be with us for a bit longer. And actually, because they have a good diet, home cooked meals by our staff, and such a calm environment, they get to thrive and live for like 6, 8 years. And it's so nice to see them open up, or pets that come in and are a bit more fearful because they haven't been socialized to actually become the social butterflies in the group. And it's so sweet because it just shows how much safety and comfort and having them socialize with people and pets, it means so much to them, and realizing that at that stage, it's really important. It's also something that our founder also realized, the fact that kennels and catteries, a lot of the times pets would come out and they would be considered reactive when actually they didn't have the proper love and care for them to feel safe. And this is something that you've experienced yourself. Like you get them out and then slowly they start softening and opening up and finding comfort and seeing more of their actual personality rather than reactiveness. And then you're like, look, who are they? We can't recognize them.
100%. It's so funny because the first time we brought Haley away, we took Haley, they gave us a thunder coat, which is one of those
Mm.
wraparound,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what it is? It's a kind of a wraparound kind of
Hmm.
body thing, and they said, "We tried to put this on her, she went bananas, she laid on the ground and howled," and I'm like, "It's so Haley," she was so dramatic. So when we got her to our house, I just put it on her like a cape, and she looked at me, and then I stepped each paw through the little openings, and then I wrapped it on her, she was fine. It's like I sent the photos, I said, "Here, I put it on." They couldn't believe it. They're like, "Oh my god, you got that on her?" And I was like, "Yeah, she did." She just stood here looking at me. What was really interesting is we kept Haley for Friday, and they said, "We're sure you're gonna bring her back tomorrow morning." And I texted them and said the following morning, "Hey, it's going fine. We'll bring her back maybe Sunday or Monday." And they were like, "What?" So we brought her back, I think, Sunday night afternoon, and we dropped her off. And then they texted me the next day and said it was the craziest thing. They decided after that weekend, since we had taken her, to bring her out to one of the group social scenes that they
Yeah, yeah,
do. They
yeah,
put all the
yeah.
dogs together and let them run. They had tried Haley multiple times, but all she did was stand by the fence and whine to go back to
Oh,
her
that breaks my
cage.
heart.
So it is sad, right? So they really wanted to try to socialize her. So Erica said, she was with Steve and Jim and their dogs. Let's see. I'm going to bring her out. She sent me video. Haley ran up to every other dog and just looked at them and like did like a psychic link for a second, then ran up to another dog. And Erica said she was filming it. She goes, "Oh my God, I really think she's psychically linking and saying, you want to hear where I went this weekend? Hey, you want to know where I went this weekend?
Oh,
Hey, and it was the funniest thing because they said she started again. It was just a little bit of care, a little bit of love. It's all it takes. It's all it takes. Okay, couple questions to wrap this up. Question number one: where do people find you and how do they support and get involved with the Cinnamon Trust?
people can find us at www.cinnamon.org.uk. there's a lot of information there, both for the owners and those who want to get involved. If you need help, is you have a section dedicated for yourself where you can just go and find the support for you and your pet on the left side. And then how can you support the trust is all the ways that you can get involved in volunteering or other ways you could support the trust. It's pretty straightforward. Most of these sections will have forms. Once you complete the forms, or give us a call. Sometimes maybe there are details that you'd like to clear out, or just make sure that you didn't understand something or you're interpreting something. Just give us a call. Someone will pick up the phone and you'll have a lovely conversation with one of my colleagues. They will explain things in a bit more details or be redirected to the right department to actually give you the information that you need. If you're submitting a form, it will come through on our end. There's someone always checking. Depending on the different months, like January, now we have a lot more volunteer registration. So please be patient with us, as it's only one office that is taking all the inquiries, but someone will come back to you. And yeah, that's usually the easiest way that people can find us. They can either email us, and you have the hello@cinnamon.org.uk where you can email us, or just call us or submit a form.
And the final two questions can go back to anything we've already talked about or anything you want to say. It does not have to be about animals. It can be anything you want. Question number one is this: who inspires you?
I did think about this question. I take inspiration from people who are putting themselves out there. I think I take a lot of inspiration from people in my day-to-day life that I hear them showing up and doing their best. And by that is always like pushing the bounds of what they can do. That really inspires me. People challenging kind of the norms of, yeah, but why we're doing this? Or people that perhaps they're 70 something and they decide to climb the mountain. These things really inspire me in terms of the quality of life that I have and how far I go with my own ideas and the mental borders that I break for myself. I don't know if this answers your question, but I really get inspired by everyday people.
And the final question is not a question. It is a statement to finish. We always ask it. It goes like this: finish this statement. Tell me something good.
There's a lot more good in the world than perhaps there is shown out there or portrayed out there. And I hope people can see past that. I think sometimes we need to pull the veils of everything that is being given to us and look deeper into other people's humanity and realize that there's more good than bad in the world.
Thank you, Rima, for sharing the good of the Cinnamon Trust. Next time on World Gone Good.
I get in my inbox like some new way that I didn't even think about how technology complicates or overburdens somebody, right? Like, messages from a young parent being like, I have an infant and I hate the fact that I'm on TikTok and not interacting with my infant, even though I know that she should be the center of my world. Or so-and-so other parent being like, I have 3 kids at home and then I'm not paying attention to them and I feel like it's bad, but I don't know what to do about it. Or, an 18-year-old student who's trying to get off video games, or there's just it's sort of endless. And so a lot of the question is how do I actually get off of these platforms and do what people say, quote unquote, is reclaim my life.
Gabriella Wynn has a 5D plan: decrease, deactivate, delete, downgrade, and depart from our dependence, another D word, on our smartphones and laptops and iPads while we're at it. She is the visionary founder of Abstinence, and she's working to get people to reconnect with themselves and everyone around them. Prepare for a good conversation about her father throwing out their TV when she was a kid, her time in Harvard at graduate school, and what she is saying yes to in 2026, and so much more. I can't wait to share this all-new episode with you, even though you're going to have to listen to it on your smartphone or laptop. Damn it! Until then, be good.